Zbivaju li se ekonomske krize slučajno ili nekom neumoljivom i neshvatljivom logikom liberalnog kapitalizma? Ili ih pak netko namjerno proizvodi? I tko bi to uopće bio? Detektivi iz Krimića na to bi pitanje odgovorili: slijedi trag novca. Što novac znači i čemu služi? To je poznato. Manje je poznato što novac zapravo jest, kako se stvara, tko njime upravlja. Neki od odgovora na ta pitanja možda se kriju iza zastora svijeta na koji se projicira slika svijeta kako ga znamo. Unazad nekoliko godina u medijima stalno čitamo i slušamo o kreditnoj krizi. No postoji li i tu nešto ispod same površine medijske slike? Neka skrivena agenda, neki plan zamišljen daleko od očiju javnosti, koji je na ovoj razini javne prezentacije skriven i nerazumljiv, prava slika iz ogledala. Slavni istraživač urote David Icke o kreditnoj krizi pisao je i puno i dugo. Pa smo opet dogovorili sastanak i okrenuli ogledalo tako da pokaže sliku koju tražimo baš ovdje. Na rubu znanosti. Dobar dan. Dobar dan i vama. Po četvrti, peti put, tko to zna, bit će još prilike. Dakle, usred globalne krize smo već neko vrijeme, barem se tako piše. Na određeni način ste ju najavljivali u knjigama. Po vama, kako se ona zbila, otkuda je stigla, ako je umjetno stvorena, što se njome htjelo postići iz vaše perspektive?
Well, it's interesting when you look at life and people in general that we don't tend to ask the big questions. We tend to just focus on the little questions. So we'll ask about how much money this costs or how much money I'm earning and all the rest of it. But we don't ask the big question, which is, what is money? And if we don't know what money is, then we can't understand how we're manipulated through the money system and how what we call banking is legalized theft. And because, of course, it doesn't mean it's lawful, if you like. It doesn't mean it's right or just. It just means it operates within the laws that those that control the banking system and at the same time control the political system have passed to allow banks to be legalized, corrupt, robbers of the people. And they do it like this. And to understand this banking crisis, we really got to understand, first of all, what money is. When you go into a bank and you ask for a loan on a house or car or whatever, what did the bank do? I mean, what was the process? Again, we don't seem to ask those questions. Oh, well, they lend us money. Well, okay. Well, where do they get it from? What has happened because the same network of families that I've been exposing all this time have controlled, indeed created the banking system as we know it, have also controlled the politicians that pass legislation about banking laws and finance. Laws have been passed to create something called fractional reserve lending. It sounds a boring title and all the rest of it, but we really need to understand what this means. Fractional reserve lending allows banks to lend at least, and it is at least, 10 times what they actually have on deposit. It's called credit. You know, people say, there's a credit crunch. What does that mean? It means that loans of, in effect, non-existent money are not being made on the scale they were before. But I'll come to that in a second. You go into a bank and you put $1 in a bank, say. That bank can now lend 9-10 times that dollar because the law says you only have to have something like 10% of your theoretical money that that bank has on deposit. All the rest you can loan out. So you go into a bank and you borrow $50,000, say. Now, what the bank has done to create that is type into your account $50,000. It's not there. It's called credit. $50,000. From that moment, you start paying interest on $50,000 to that bank that has been created simply by someone at the bank typing $50,000 into your account. Staggering, but true. They've not moved precious metal anywhere. They've not moved real money into your account, but the theoretical figures on a screen money that they create out of thin air. But it gets better or worse. I then take $50,000, a check of that money, and I buy a car. The person I buy the car to takes the $20,000 and he puts it in his bank. Now his bank, Bank B, can lend 10 times on that $20,000, which at Bank A has been created out of thin air. Then he signs a check to someone else or buys something else, and then the person they buy it from, they put their money in their bank, which is Bank C. Say he bought something for $5,000. Bank C can now lend 10 times the $5,000, which has come from that bank being able to lend on the $20,000, which goes back originally to Bank A, where the money was created out of nothing. Now, when you follow this round, and some people have done the maths, one loan to one person of fresh air, out of nowhere money, credit, when it's traveled around the banks and gone from person to person, the interest the banking system as a whole gets from that original one fresh air loan is stupendous. And every time you go to the bank and you have a loan, you're starting that process again from the money that you loan. Now this, it has obviously fantastic implications for control of society, but it goes further. What is the difference between an economic boom and an economic depression? It's the amount of money and the perceived value of that money in circulation at the time. So this is what the banking system has done over and over and over again, and we're seeing it now in a very extreme way. Stage one, you want to stimulate a boom. So what do? You make lots of loans, because that's how money comes into circulation. People say, how does money come into circulation? It's governments in it. No, it's banks, private banks making loans. The more credit they give out, the more money they put into circulation, the more they have what now is a credit crunch. What they're doing is taking money out of circulation. So in stage one, they make lots of loans to people, and the criteria for getting a loan comes down and down and down, so more and more people get them. This puts lots of units of exchange in circulation, and therefore the ability for people to buy things. This means that companies have to make more things to meet demand. So people get more jobs and there's more orders on the books, etc. And people say, hey, we're in a real boom time now. In boom times, because of the confidence that people have, because there are lots of orders at their company they work for, their jobs are strong and safe and all the rest of it, I think it is, people tend to get into more debt. So they borrow money for a bigger house, they have a bigger car, they might have 2 holidays instead of 1 or whatever. And they're doing it overwhelmingly on borrowed money, this fresh air money. What this creates eventually is an economic boom where lots of people have got themselves in lots of debt during this boom time. Then, at the optimum time, to bring about the outcome that they want, the banking system, which basically works as one unit because it's coordinated. You see individual banks, but the system itself works as one unit through these banks. What they then do is they create a situation that justifies them taking money out of circulation. So what they do is they raise the criteria massively, that's what's happened now, of what you need to do to get a loan. So what they're doing is they're taking money out of circulation. They also can call in loans that are already out there. And this combination